app. Once you do, search Rainier Avenue Radio. Do not curse out your fellow drivers. This has been your Rainier Avenue Radio traffic update.
Metro League football back. Turn of Metro League high school football Friday and Saturday nights on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Makes a stutter step inside, breaks a tackle. He's gonna take it all the way. He's gonna take it all the way on the sideline.
Exciting Metro League football live on Rainier Avenue Radio World. It's back.
Women are not an homogenous group.
We face discrimination differently depending on factors such as ethnicity, age, socioeconomic status, and more.
Rainier Avenue Radio is proud to amplify women's voices.
They are the experts of their own lives, initiating conversations within their community about challenges they face, the solutions they're working on, and the opportunities they see.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 for Women's Voices on Air. We know our challenges. We are the experts of our lives.
We are master multitaskers, prioritizing our family, friends, and our faith above our own needs.
Our needs and voices are too entrepreneurs.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. for Women's Voices on Air.
We tell our stories in our own way.
Welcome to the coronavirus pandemic. I'll take coronavirus. Fever, chill, broken breath, often taste and smell. When it's stay at home and isolate. Correct. Coronavirus for 200. Inability to stay awake, persistent pain or pressure in chest, trouble breathing. When it's seek immediate help. Correct.
Coronavirus for 500.
Crippling and potentially dead infectious disease eliminated the United States with vaccination.
What is the polio vaccine?
Correct.
I'll take coronavirus for 700.
The Daily Double! Should I take the coronavirus vaccine? Wait. Hold up. This is not a game. It's time for serious discussions. We have coronavirus vaccines, but not everyone is comfortable taking them. Here's the fact. Based on what has been proven about vaccines for other diseases, COVID-19 vaccine may help keep you from getting seriously ill, even if you do get the virus. Getting vaccinated also may protect people around, particularly those at greater risk for severe illness from COVID-19. We don't yet have all of the answers. Get informed, talk to your healthcare physician, and make the right decision for you. This is a message supported by the Washington State Department of Health.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not stopping a Mercer Island street brawl, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
Been around for a long time.
We are back once again, Rainier Avenue Radio, Monday Night Sports. I'm Dupe. I'll be joined by the big guy, Edwin Bailey, and we're going to recap yesterday's loss in overtime to the Tennessee Titans. I told you last week, I said, don't take this team too lightly. Do not, because you got weapons like Derrick Henry, and they've added a guy by the name of Julio Jones. And we saw what happened. Yeah. So we're going to get to the big guys' take on that in just a minute. But a couple of quick things as we make connection with him that I want to highlight. I think are important. The Seahawks played a really good first half. And defensively, they shut down Derrick Henry. And that was, a guy like that you can only keep down so long. But the second half, they just defensively fell apart. Offensively, could not sustain a drive. Had the big play, but other than that, offensively could not sustain a drive, and that's something they've got to fix. They've got to make sure that when the game's on the line and you have to run the clock out, you got to get a first down or two or three. You got to do it. So that's some of the things that we'll talk about. We also are going to listen to a little bit of sound, pull some post game sound from both Jamal Adams and Coach Pete Carroll, and get their take a little bit on the loss. But it's interesting because I've been reading the news, listening to talk radio elsewhere and what have you, and people are like, oh, the disaster, this, that. It's one game. Yeah, it certainly highlighted some issues that you have, and those things have to be addressed, but it's certainly not panic time. There's 15 games to go. It's a 17 game season. Remember, they added the one game. So a long season to go. If you just tuned in, I'm Rick DuPree. I'll be joined by Edwin Bailey in just a moment. And this is Monday Night Sports, and we will break down the Seahawks game from yesterday against Tennessee. Also, I want to just remind you, also stay tuned every Friday and or Saturday. Sometimes we'll have Saturday games as well, but Metro League Prep Football. And this Friday night, we've got a doozy for you. We've got the Garfield and Ballard. That'll be 7:45 right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. And Garfield, surprising some people, I think they are 3-0, and they beat, there it is. You see it. So Friday night right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. And of course, you can our streaming outlets. You can go to Rainier Avenue Radio, our YouTube page, our Facebook page, or Twitch, and obviously see the game action as well as listen to my call of the game. But Garfield 3-0, and they played what appeared to be a tough opponent in the Memorial Classic this weekend, Saturday afternoon. A game that was shortened because of lightning or there were lightning strikes. So when there's lightning or concern that lightning will strike, they have to delay the game for 30 minutes. So the game actually got started about 40 minutes late. And it was a 7-0 game at halftime. Garfield was leading AC Davis from Yakima, and Davis, 4A school. Garfield proceeded to score 52 points in the second half, and I want to say it was 30. I think maybe 42. They scored most of it in the third quarter. They had a huge game. And interesting, talking to head coach Reggie Witherspoon, after the game, he said, people concerning we were running the score up. He said, we were, after the game was at hand, what he decided to do, because they have a strong running game and some really good running backs. And they started working on their passing game. And, got a few strikes and a couple of other scores. They kicked off, and Davis player was not able to field the kick. And so Garfield recovered it, I think, on the 8-yard line. And so they're just, plays like that. And, my take on when somebody's complaining about running up the score, if it's the opposing team and I'm the team, getting spanked, my philosophy is this: I got to look in the mirror. I got to look at my players. I say, we got to get better. And so this kind of mercy, and the mercy rule was in effect anyway, because with WIAA athletics, once there's a 40-point lead, there's a running clock. And so that occurred, I can't remember the exact time, but in the third quarter. So there was a running clock from that point. Well, yeah, there, Daniel's got some highlights from that game, but it was. Anyway, with that said, I'm saying all that to set up that Garfield Ballard. Garfield, I think, if I'm not mistaken, last year was a favorite over Ballard. Ballard, a little bit of a shocker, and beat them, I believe, by a point. And so it'll be a good game. Ballard has just a great program there, and they over the last several years have really just elevated that football program, not only on the field but in the classroom as well. So anyway, make sure to tune in 7:45 this Friday night, Garfield and Ballard right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. But with that said, let's talk a little bit about the game yesterday. So I'm not a big guy on stats, but with that said, I think this is a telltale sign. And I start thinking about last year and the first, half or so of the season, a little bit more. The defense was just atrocious. They gave up 532 yards yesterday. 320 in the air, 212 on the ground. The Titans averaged 6.4 carry, or 6.4 yards per play, not per carry. So that's obviously factoring the passes and the runs. But you got a guy like Derrick Henry, and when he broke on the 60-yarder, I mean, what do you say? I mean, a guy like that, he's going to get his. And even with him getting his, the Seahawks still had every opportunity to win the ball game. One of the biggest stats, I think you take a look at it, is the penalties. Seahawks had 10 penalties for 100 yards. You can't win games when you are just making bonehead plays like that. As a matter of fact, and then the other thing I think is interesting and a key is time of possession. The Titans almost doubled the time of possession that the Seahawks Titans had it for over 42 minutes. Seahawks had it for 22 minutes. Now, if you're getting big plays and what have you, that's one thing, which the Seahawks did. But this is a team, Pete Carroll has talked about, run first. And they did not run it very much. and going to the stats, I'll tell you, they had 77 rushing yards. And you just, you can't win when you aren't, utilized, especially when you have a lead. So just to give you perspective, Chris Carson, who I love Chris Carson. I mean, the man runs hard. 13 carries for 31 yards, a couple of touchdowns in the first half, and then didn't see the ball a lot in the second half. And you've got to, when you've got a lead, let's start running some of that clock and keeping the ball on the ground, turning it out. And, Russell Wilson put the ball up 31 times. But Chris Carson had 13 carries. Alex Collins had that great 25-yard run. He had 1 carry. Russell tucked it and ran on scrambles 3 times. Freddie Swain had 1 run. So it was at 13, 14, 17, 18, essentially 18 running plays. And you just can't, you can't win, especially a team that is built like this, that you want to keep it on the ground. The other thing, there were concerns all along with the offensive line. They did some things to shore the offensive line, up, this year. And, Russell's still under some pressure. I like the way that he's, to a certain degree, staying in the pocket. But you gotta make sure both the combination of the offensive line protecting him, as well as he's got to make good decisions in the pocket. He can't just bail out. And I think, again, making some pretty good decisions.
Not the way the Seahawks had.
At the bottom line, is that they've got to, they've got to be able to sustain drives when they need them. And again, we've heard a lot about Shane Waldron. I think that we certainly, they haven't opened the offense up yet. They've got a lot yet to show, and I'm not concerned. As a matter of fact, so let's do this. Daniel, let's go to the Pete Carroll cut, because I think this was really a good sign of sorry about that, a good sign of what he was thinking and what they needed, and kind of his perspective on the game. So let's hear from Coach Pete Carroll. This is his post-game interview from last night after the game.
For us today, because there were so many good things that happened, and it was such a great day at the stadium. The fans were ready and rocking, and we wanted to reward them with a big win as well. And we did so many good things, and then we really hurt ourselves just too many times when you're playing a good team. And the penalties were just so costly. So many first downs off penalties when we had them, and really had control of the situation. And it was really unfortunate that we weren't poised enough. And I totally take that myself. There were just opportunities for us to make better decisions that we didn't make. And I know sometimes I get these guys so freaking crazy that they're just going out after it and makes some errors. There was and I'm not even, I don't have any question about the calls or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about refereeing or any of that. It's just, we have to do better. We have to play better with and handle the situation so that we get the benefits of all of the good play. And we gave them some stuff. We gave them way too much stuff. And like I said, you give a good team that much, they keep hanging. They're tough. They got, great players and terrific approach to the game and all that. And it came through, and they won a game with it. And, credit to them.
With Derrick Henry, did they change things up, or is that just to get back, getting going over time?
No, he had a big play. We were, I don't know what his numbers wound up being, but they were in a game that they needed, where they keep on pounding away, and they were very conservative with it. And we didn't have to give them whatever the big one was, 60 or something, whatever that was.
I know that you still have to review the tape, and it's probably too early to ask, but what did you see on that play?
We were too aggressive on the edge. I just got Jamal fired up about taking a shot at something, and the combination of how we played the edge right there, the ball bounced, and he's been doing that for years. He takes off and gets on the edge, and nobody can take him down. And all day long we fought to not let that happen, and then it finally did.
What did you,
to their credit.
Offense,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The offense in the second half, when you got the big play to Swain, but there's some 3 and outs there. Just anything kind of changed there in the 2 halves?
No, I don't know that anything changed. We got, they they made a mistake, and we took advantage of it really well. Just not as, we just weren't as clean as we needed to be. Third downs need to go a little bit more in our favor to keep the thing moving. But no, not in particular.
Was DK hurt? He didn't look right on that overtime.
He was a little sore, yeah, and I'm not sure exactly what it was. He banged his knee or something like that.
Do you have an update on Brandon Joe?
I don't. Sorry.
He said there's a lot of good stuff within the bad. Bobby Wagner, 20 more tackles in the sack. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought he played a phenomenal game, and the defense did a lot of great stuff. We were really aggressive and really on the attack. To hold them down like that in the running game when they really were trying, that was a good effort. You could see the line of scrimmage, how many times we tackled them for nothing, but they were, they stuck with it and they stayed with their philosophy. They know they got in trouble a week ago not being able to do that, and so they were able, and it won for them.
What did you think of your running game on offense today?
I thought it was spotty. I didn't feel like we took control of it, and like we would like to.
Other than that, for Freddie Swain on the blown coverage, it wasn't really a big offensive spark in the second half. Did they make an adjustment? Were you guys not doing something right? What did you see?
No, they played it pretty much the same. We didn't execute quite as well, but they didn't change much.
It seemed like it was kind of a feast or famine day with the pass rush. A few drives, really able to get after Tannehill, and then the rest of the game was just kind of sitting there comfortably. Were you surprised with them having a couple backups on the offensive line?
Yeah, we really thought that we would get more pressure just watching what happened last week, but they did a nice job, and we didn't do as well as we needed to.
Might help if I unmute. So there you have it. As Coach Carroll said, they just didn't do a lot of things as well as they needed to. I think at this point, I think minor things, but they've got to improve, and they've got to make sure that they address those things now. And if they don't, it could get away from them. This team historically has performed better and better as the season goes on. But still, this is a game. If you come down to where you're trying to get home field advantage, you're trying to get whatever the case may be, or get into the playoffs, and you're on the borderline there. These games like this, you can't afford to lose. And they yesterday, it was a game they let slip away. So, some of the keys that I think that just are going to be really, really important for this team. I kind of try to take notes for each of the games, but I think number one, the question I asked, how big is a missed PAT? And that's the difference. If that extra point is not missed on the last touchdown, now, you force Tennessee in a situation where they've got to go for two. So how big was that? Again, when I played for the University of Washington, Don James was a stickler on special teams. And we had film back then. It wasn't tape and as easy as it is, it's not even tape now, everything online, but we have film, and they would splice every kicking game play together. You talk about field goal, extra point, kickoff, kick return, punt return, you name it. And Don James would go over that film himself. And that's how much attention to detail that he put. And I'm sure the Seahawks and Pete Carroll, they do that, but that's huge. That's huge. Another thing is, I mentioned too many penalties. You cannot have 100 yards in penalties and expect to win. I mean, I'm sorry, that just does not, and silly mistakes. I'm not even, talk about the taunting and what have you. And that's the rule is the rule. And, the one taunting play, and again, it didn't even make a difference because, and talking about the one, there was about 8 minutes left in the game. And, they called, the taunting. I'm trying to remember. It was on the pass play, and they called it taunting on Reed. He was covering Brown. He was beat, number one. Okay. The pass was a little overthrown. He kind of was tackling, Brown as the ball went over his head, and then gets up. And I mean, he basically just kind of, and looked at him and walked off. But the rule's the rule. And those are the types of things, again, you've got to know, just like you got to know what the down situation is, what the clock situation is. Those are, you're professionals. Those are little mistakes you can't make. Now, that did not end up hurting them because Tennessee didn't score, on that particular drive. But still, those are the little bonehead things you've got to clean up. And if you're going to be a championship team, and I said this earlier, you have to have more sustained drives. That's just the bottom line. If you can't sustain a drive when you have to have it, if you can't get a first down, and you look at it, in the game when they were going to go up for it on fourth down, I think the ball was on the, I want to say 39-yard line. And it looked like they were actually going to go for it. And then I think it was Damian Lewis that jumped off sides. Again, though, the count, and that's the type of thing, I want Edwin to comment on when we get him. And I apologize. So part of the challenge, like I said, I mentioned this last week, and I want Edwin to tell you, the big story. He's down in South Carolina and just trying to navigate getting on the air on his phone. And so we'll get this worked out. And he's like, man, I'm about to go get my laptop and my laptop sent from home. So we'll get it set up, and we'll have him. I apologize for that. Anyway, with that said, though, you cannot make those little mistakes, and that's a key. I think it was I want to say it was fourth and 1.5, maybe 2, if that, and a play that they were going to go for it, and you jump off sides, and those are the types of things that cannot happen. You're a professional. And now, granted, we all make mistakes, no doubt, but in a situation like that with the game on the line, you got to make the play. You have to make the play, plain and simple, no questions about it. It's 6:49. You are tuned in to Monday Night Sports. I'm Dupe, and this is Monday Night Sports, going over the Seahawks loss to Tennessee, and I want to look at some other highlights. And then you got Minnesota next week. Doesn't get any easier, and I don't care if the Vikings are 0-2. We'll talk about that momentarily. But again, tough loss, for the Seahawks. And I mentioned this last week. I said, just because Tennessee started with a loss to now the 2-0 Arizona Cardinals, don't mistake that. They have some weapons, and this is a team that last year was 11-5, and you add Julio Jones to that mix. Come on, this is a playoff team. This is a team, and when you have a running back the caliber of a Derrick Henry, I love Chris Carson. I think Chris Carson is the guy for the Seahawks. Derrick Henry's at another level even, and Derrick Henry is one of the best, if not the best, in the league. And so Seahawks did a great job first half. So what you have to do is take a look at the game film, see what you did, that first half, and those are the types of things that you have to replicate. You have to continue to do. They're going to be so important. Let's tell you what. Let's do this. Let's go to. We've got a cut. And I want to have you hear from Jamal Adams and hear what he had to say about the game. And it's about a 2-3 minute cut. And then once we're done on the other side of that, we'll talk a little bit about Minnesota, and then. Just want to remind you of a double header, I should say. I mentioned Garfield Ballard this week, also Chief Sealth and Lincoln at 5 o'clock, and that'll be followed by the Ballard Garfield game at 7:45. Anyway, Dan, go ahead. Let's go ahead and play the Jamal Adams cut.
Frustrated that we, didn't come out on top. We beat ourselves. Hats off to Tennessee, great football team, but we put ourselves in a hole and just couldn't get out.
What was the Derrick Henry really got going in the second half? Did they do anything different there? Just emphasize it?
Nah, he just kept running the ball, man. I mean, obviously he's a top back for a reason, if not one of the best backs, if not the best back in the league. Bigger back, obviously, we just gotta. Everybody has to do their job, has to stay in our gaps as firm as possible, and if we give him a little bit of a crease, he's gonna hit it because he's that good. And he got rolling, and when he gets rolling, he's dangerous.
What happened on the long touchdown run?
He scored.
What did you see on that play though?
Well, I was behind him, so we obviously didn't get him down. He scored.
You think the run defense stuff was like gap stuff?
Yeah, it's about, just playing our gaps. But like I said, we just got to stay in our gaps. if we give a little bit of a crease for a guy like Derrick Henry, he's going to hit it. So.
You guys got a lot of penalties, including the one that happened to you. Describe what happened, and did you think that merited flag? Describe what happened. Describe what happened, and whether you thought that merited a flag.
You talking about my penalty or just everybody overall?
Yours first.
I'm not really a go back and forth with the refs and whatnot. I think it was, obviously this is an offensive league. They're going to protect the quarterback. Bang, bang situation. I don't agree with it, but at the end of the day, they called it. Can't happen. I have to be smarter in that situation. But I don't really agree.
You mentioned overall that you guys maybe were overamped from the standpoint of being the first game back, and there were unnecessary penalties because you guys carried it too far.
I mean, I can't answer that. We just can't have those penalties. You know what I mean? It's not about coming out here and at the end of the day, we have a job to do. And we have to, have controlled chaos is what I call it. And, it's an even kill mindset. We can't have those penalties in crucial situations. Some are ticky-tack. It's just like DJ Reed and, on the taunting penalty. Come on, man. You're taking the emotions and the passion out of the game of football. So at the end of the day, that's the rule. We have to play smarter. But, yeah, we definitely shot ourselves in the foot with a lot of our penalties that led to points and extended drives.
What's the key to maintaining that even temper in the second half when the crowd and the fans are going crazy for the first time for you since you've been here? What's the key to keeping that even keel?
I think it's just going back to the basics and focusing on your job. Everybody doing their assignment, being disciplined, staying gap sound, because we all play a part, all 11 of us. So it's not, an upfront thing. It's not a second level thing or a third level thing. It's a team thing. And as a defense, we were playing phenomenal at the beginning. You know what I mean? And we just didn't finish. We didn't finish, and it hurts. It does hurt, but that's okay. We're gonna keep our head up. We got a long season. We understand, who we are as a defense. We understand, the sky's the limit for this defense, and we're gonna keep on marching.
Do you feel like there was a change?
So there you have it. That was Jamal Adams talking a little bit about from his perspective, and like Pete Carroll, this is they got to cut down on those mistakes. And they got to finish. And, I was before we went to his cut, I was saying, so, I was at the 4:24 mark. It was 4th and 1, and Damian Lewis jumped. And so then Tennessee got the ball back with 4:13 left to go in the ball game. And they proceeded to go 68 yards and score with, I think it was 29 seconds left to play. And that again, number one, the offense, you don't want to get in a 4th and 1 situation, but they were going to go for it and having the confidence that they could get it. Number one, but then number two, the defense. When you're in a situation like that, you got to make plays. So, that is what it is. Next week again, we talked about Minnesota. So I'll say this real quickly: don't discount Minnesota. The Vikings 0-2, but two really really close losses. Yesterday, lost 34-33 to Arizona. And the week before lost in overtime. But you got again at quarterback Kirk Cousins. Yesterday he was 22 of 32, 244 yards, 3 TDs, no interceptions. And you got a guy that wears number 33 in the backfield, similar to Derrick Henry, not as big, but just as dangerous in Dalvin Cook. And yesterday Cook had 131 yards on 22 carries. So it ain't gonna get no easier. Pardon my grammar. So that's going to be really important. So don't think that, the Vikings are 0-2. This is going to, any given week on any given Sunday, doesn't matter in the NFL. Well, that's going to pretty much wrap it up for us here on this Monday night. We will be back next week, and I guarantee you we'll have Edwin with us, and we'll get that going. A couple of things I want to remind you. Lit Line is next, so don't go away. Keep it right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. If you're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. And then remember, Friday night, doubleheader. You've got Lincoln And it's coming up on, there we go. There it is. Thank you. So this Friday night, Chiefs Health in Lincoln, and that will be at 5 o'clock. And then that will be followed by Garfield and Ballard at 7:45. Well, for Edwin Bailey, for Daniel B., for all the team here at Rainier Avenue Radio, again, stay tuned. Lit Line is next. I'm Dupe, and until next week, peace and God bless.